Well, straight ahead is the Queen Elizabeth Way all the way to Hamilton or someplace, and it was inspired, I think, by the Autobahns in Germany built in the 1930s. But we're going to go back east on the Gardiner Expressway, which is this elevated monstrosity, much like the elevated Metropolitan in Montreal and Cross Bronx Expressway in New York, and a symbol of modernity. And even Halifax had to have a little curly Q, not an off ramp, but an off, curly Q, designed by the same people who did the elevated Gardiner, just probably to say, we're in the modern world too. Well, what happened is the city grew up around it, and now this elevated expressway is at the 8th floor of many buildings, and it is really an oddity. Now, what I've suggested is closing one lane, putting pillars on it, putting elevated transit such as monorails on it, and a walking trail, and maybe cantilevered stuff out the other side. There's somebody beeping, hello. Recognizes my camera operator, I guess. Anyway, look at this density here. This is the Liberty Village density, which you can see from buildings way uptown, up at Bloor. At any rate, public policy in Toronto involves debating what to do with the Gardiner Expressway forever. Do we tear it down? Do we tear down part of it? Do we rebuild part of it? Do we repair it? Do we use the repair bill to tear it down? What do we do with the traffic? Well, guess what? I can see the lake from here. You put commuter ferries out there. You put a causeway out there on pillars. You put elevated transit above it. You could do all kinds of things, but then we wouldn't have much to debate in Toronto. When we get to the end of it, you will see that some of it has been torn down, and that created more debates. Do you rebuild it? Do you connect it up with the Don Valley Parkway, which is what Sam Cass used to do now, or wanted to do? Sam Cass was much more a Robert Moses type of guy than Fred Gardiner was. Sam Cass was the roads commissioner, traffic commissioner, whatever you called him. And he wanted to bring the Spadina Expressway down, hook it up with the Gardiner, and hook the Gardiner up with the Don Valley Parkway, so you could just keep going around and around in centrifugal circles and probably generate electricity. But we didn't do that. Okay, you're coming up to SkyDome. Even though I knew Ted Rogers and respected him, I find it very difficult to call this anything but SkyDome. First fully retractable roof, and that's like 93%. Rod Robbie was the engineer, designer, architect. And then you have the CN Tower, largest freestanding structure in the world for a while. Not a bad place to have a drink or lunch and look at the view. So look at this. I mean, a whole city has grown up over top of the Gardiner Expressway when we weren't looking. We're now at about Yonge Street, and just going to keep going and get a good view of this elevated roadway.